Riley Keough, granddaughter of Elvis Presley, was also disclosing her intentions regarding Graceland and a vow she had made to her mother. I believe it was this location that allowed her to feel free and unrestrained. No one has been allowed access to the upper level of the famous Graceland home for more than 40 years. The lack of a tour and few images capturing its appearance is a testament to this. It is the most secretive and guarded area in the annals of rock and roll. But now Riley Keough, grandson of Elvis Presley, has spoken out. What she discloses goes beyond mere mementos. What on earth could Elvis have concealed up there that would have made him want no one to look? His motivation for creating an undisclosed meditation space is puzzling. And what hidden truths did he leave behind, concealed in a shoebox, just waiting to be discovered? Someone very close to that legacy is finally opening up to us. But she isn't acting this out for show. It's all about the connection for her. Here we have Riley Keough, grandson of Elvis, and the mysteries she revealed regarding the upper staircase of Graceland. We guarantee that some of the things she found will make you reevaluate your entire worldview. Do your fellow troops treat you poorly because of your fame, Elvis? Excuse me, but I was taken aback. This group of guys is the best I've ever encountered. Graceland was a peaceful colonial revival mansion on a solitary plot of land in Memphis before it became the most visited residence in America, second only to the White Mansion. Long gone are the days of adoring admirers, incredible tours, and wild legends. Dr. Thomas Moore and his wife Ruth constructed the modest 10-room house in 1939. There was no Hollywood mansion about it, save that it exuded poise, refinement, and tranquility. Not everyone's cup of tea would appreciate the classic Southern elegance of the white columns, arched windows, and expansive porch. At the tender age of 22, Elvis Presley had already achieved superstardom by 1957. However, beneath all the retro flashbulbs and fanaticism, he was merely a young man from Tupelo, flourished with stardom but yearning for solitude. Graceland wasn't attractive to him because of its size or expense. That was it, the solitude. The property allegedly cost him $102,500, around 900,000 US dollars as of right now. He wasn't trying to make a statement. The need to vanish drove him to do it. However, Elvis did more than simply relocate to his new home. It was changed by him. In the 20 years that followed, Graceland came to symbolize who he was. Quite out there, peculiar, and private. The Jungle Room's strange green shag and Lisa Marie's bedroom's pink poodle decor were only two examples of how Elvis was omnipresent. However, Elvis became into an utter contrast when the volume in the house increased. He gradually became more subdued, and the more time he spent upstairs, away from the employees, the guests, and even some of his closest friends, the more isolated he became. A stage was located downstairs. A sanctuary stood on the upper floor. And the tale truly starts there. Why do you believe you've managed to stay in the industry longer than any other performer from the 1950s, and, by extension, the 1960s? My regimen includes vitamin E supplements. Explore Graceland at your leisure today. The whole scope of Elvis's accomplishments during his lifetime will be laid bare. Everything from his beloved peanut butter and banana sandwiches to his records, camper van, and bejeweled jumpsuits is meticulously replicated in the kitchen. However, some people who have been on the house tour have reported that something changes the second you approach the staircase in the main hallway. The tour ends at that point, has done so forever. The upper level of Graceland is off-limits for more than just that. In a word, it's legendary. Pictures of the location have been scarce for quite some time. The most outrageous aspect? Nothing is an exception. No matter your status, you are not allowed to enter that area. Even journalists are not allowed in that region. Not as a cheap marketing trick, as some would have you believe, but it has been sealed shut for almost 40 years. It was a choice that Vernon Presley, Elvis's dad, made. The day his son passed away, August 16th, 1977, he had the upstairs shut down for good. Vernon didn't merely see the spot where Elvis had walked. It was his home, the place where he had it all. Laughs, tears, creations, and the crushing weight of fame. It wasn't fit for a museum, an unspoiled spiritual site. It served as a tomb and a time capsule. And it is still the case. The upper floor rooms are as good as new. As it appeared on the night of Elvis's death, the bedroom remains unchanged. His garments remain hung in the wardrobe. On the drawer, you can still find his cologne. On the nightstand, he still had the book he was perusing. The moment his fiancée Alden discovered him is even displayed on the clock that hangs over his bed. 2:30 in the afternoon. It has been handled by no curators. So far, no excursions have gone beyond this point. Quite literally, it has halted the passage of time. Upon assuming control of the estate, Lisa Marie chose to honor Vernon's desire and keep the upper level walled off from the public. Graceland is more than simply a family history museum to Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter, and the current legal owner. The pieces belong to a man she has never met, yet feels a stronger connection to than anybody else. Riley, when she was younger, would attempt to sneak upstairs as her guests explored the rest of the house. Even though she couldn't touch anything, she distinctly recalls being paralyzed by the quiet, the stillness, and the realization that Elvis hadn't really gone, but had merely left the room. Now that he's an adult and responsible for his family's history, Riley is breaking new ground by discussing the secrets behind closed doors, not to appease intrigue, but to provide insight. For there is more than simply a jumble of old clothing and furniture concealed upstairs. It's the Elvis Presley persona that is most relatable. As Riley Keough sat alone in a small bedroom on the second floor, she described the room as dimly lit, modest, still scented, faintly of cologne. She had never seen the man, yet she could feel his aura and presence there. The silk sheets and other personal belongings were undisturbed, and the chamber remained precisely as he had left it. A Bible made of old leather rests on one nightstand, worn and brimming with verses that have been underlined. On the other side, you can see a number of tiny, maybe unopened bottles of pain reliever. What struck her the most, though, was what she discovered concealed beneath the bed. Do not open a plain, dusty shoebox with a capital letter label. As one would expect, Riley admitted to having some reservations. This wasn't about invasion of privacy, she felt told by the weight of the box and her part. Respecting the truth was at the heart of it. The contents included unsent letters. One was meant for her mom, Lisa Marie. Another one with a mysterious label for whomever discovers it after I'm gone. The contents of the letters remain a mystery to Riley. Because they are so private, she has decided to keep them that way. She has stated, however, that these events have altered her perception of her grandfather from a legend to a profoundly troubled individual. an individual who is spiritual and occasionally damaged. Riley disclosed that she was astounded by the room's condition, specifically how everything stayed put and unaltered. The discovery she made was completely at odds with the crazy claims that had been circulated, making it a very weird moment for her. An even more peculiar relic was a spiral-bound notepad containing incomplete writing. I prayed for some. Some appear to be early morning scrawls, complete with musings and random thoughts. Repeatedly scrawled on one page was a single word. There were dozens of instances of the word, and it was free. Riley remarked that the word had a profound effect on her, because Elvis was still ensnared by his celebrity, his body, and his addictions, regardless of his wealth, popularity, or the amount of love he received. Under the weight of an immeasurable reputation that demands nothing less than perfection, Riley finally lets her guard down and discusses the so-called Presley curse, an issue that has been discussed in whispers among her family and devoted Elvis fans for years. Riley comprehends the reasoning behind the term Presley curse, but she believes it is entwined with the legendary perception of her family. All the same, she did not deny that the Presley family has been plagued by generational pain, addiction, celebrity, and loss, through Lisa Marie, Elvis, and, finally, herself. To face it head-on is an act of bravery that no Presley has ever mustered before. Tell it like it is. There is no tour that includes these finds: the Bible, the drugs, the letters, and the journal. You won't see these fake, but real ones in a gift store or behind glass. These are uncooked. They disclose something more priceless than the golden albums and platinum singles that are ostentatiously showcased on Graceland's main floor. A man's frantic quest for an escape route is depicted in them. Riley thought she had seen it all until she came upon a smaller, nearly concealed door leading to a room that no one had ever told her about. As she peered inside, she saw something that no fan had ever heard of before. A door that had gone unnoticed for quite some time, hidden away at the end of the upstairs corridor, beyond the bedroom, the bathroom, and even the closet. The quiet room was Riley's name for it. You won't find it on any floor plans. Official Graceland tours have never even touched on the subject. Throughout the many decades of discussion, it has never been mentioned in either fan theories or documentaries. This is all that has passed. The peculiar cubicle contained a cramped, windowless room. Nothing except a solitary low-light lamp. There is not even a bed. A semicircle of plush couches on the floor. In one corner was a white noise machine. There was no plaster on the walls, no decorations, and no distractions in this chamber. Here is where Elvis Presley went missing. It was the space he used for meditation, the place where Riley prayed, studied mysticism and Christian theology, and jotted down ideas about life and death, is where Riley claims he spent most of his time reading about God, energy, and destiny. Books with weathered spines and marginal remarks that are still on display today. Here we found the rock and roll royalty, who wasn't a performer, a dad, a spouse, or even a public figure. He was merely an ordinary guy attempting to reduce the din. When things got too much, he would go to the little chamber where he felt safest. He achieved an unusual level of celebrity during his lifetime, unmatched by anything that has ever been witnessed in the music industry. He probably wants to get away from it all, to be honest. Riley was taken aback upon discovering the room. She compared it to penetrating her whole being. She added that its purpose wasn't to wow. Its purpose is to safeguard. Even the majority of the family never set foot in the room because of how secluded it was. Its symbolic value, rather than its contents, made it holy. His dad and I. Everything seemed to be spread out across the couch. It reminds me of wonderful times, peace, solitude, and a last-ditch effort to escape a chaotic life. This new information completely changes our perception of Elvis. He actively sought out quiet and made room for it. No, this wasn't an egotistical star. A guy was struggling to breathe as he got engulfed in it. Regardless, despite the fact that so much personal vulnerability has been shown, there is still one narrative that will not go away. The disclosures made by Riley have not entirely put an end to one theory, a hypothesis on Elvis's possible whereabouts rather than his belongings. Graceland has been the target of urban legends for decades, much like a haunted mansion in the fog. However, one theory has remained unchanged. Give me the lowdown on the mansion's past. Holy cow, this place is steeped with history, and it's not just from Elvis's time here. The passageway. Elvis Presley, stifled by the pressures of fame, allegedly laid the groundwork for his own escape by digging a tunnel beneath Graceland. The concept is straightforward, albeit implausible. Seems crazy, doesn't it? Some loyal followers, though, see it as more than simply possible. They think it's likely. The legend goes that the estate conceals a subterranean passageway that leads from the main house to a secluded woodland area behind the property, perhaps close to the meditation garden. Claiming to have been a privacy measure, some people think it was just that. A number of people think it was an escape hatch from a life he couldn't change, a fallback strategy. In the late 1970s, following Elvis's death, this concept initially gained popularity. John Burroughs, an alias Elvis frequently used while checking into hotels, was a well-known identity when a guy who looked like Presley was seen boarding an aircraft at Memphis International Airport in 1978. Although it garnered attention in the area first, its similarity was eventually disregarded. It did, however, trigger a flurry of sightings. Elvis Presley visits a Michigan Burger King. King Elvis at a California Department of Motor Vehicles. Elvis Presley enjoying a Nevada Elvis impersonator performance. It is all unproven. Everything is disputed. However, an assertion is never disproven. In 1987, a freelance journalist asserted that he had sneaked into the property and discovered what appeared to be a sealed concrete entrance next to the back carport, adding fuel to the tunnel legend. Despite the lack of proof, photos included, the myth persisted. There is no indication of a tunnel in the official Graceland plans. However, we are aware that there is a hidden area on the second floor, and they likewise choose not to reveal it. Even departing employees have been vague. It is flatly denied by some. According to others, even we weren't allowed to see certain portions of Graceland. When pressed further, Riley Keough flat out rejects the notion. However, she spares no effort in disproving it either. She is more concerned with legacy than with fan conspiracy theories. Perhaps that's the whole idea then. The myth may be necessary for fans. Elvis may not be pretending to die in the tunnel, but rather wishing he could have. I wish there was a way he could disappear without a trace, start over, and be free. After Riley has shared his letters, his suffering, and his desire for peace, the thought of Elvis vanishing doesn't seem so outlandish. Something along these lines might have been in his dreams. Another, less obvious, but no less tenacious idea coexists with this one. Did Elvis get away? It doesn't even mention. It inquires as to whether he abandoned anything or anyone. Personally, I love this aspect of running the company. Here we have a live performance. There are hundreds of millions of dollars in Elvis Presley's legacy. A house-turned museum. A protest that grew into a movement. Plus, there's Lisa Marie, the heiress, who is the daughter. Was that so? Because the same question has been circulating in fan forums, newspapers, and gossip mills for years, and whispers have been no different. Was there any other offspring of Elvis's? It has been said that dozens of people are the hidden royal family. The majority become urban legends. Some claim to have images, letters, or DNA test results from hair samples that were auctioned off. Even after filing a court order, one individual insisted on testing Elvis's remains by exhuming them. Obviously, it was rejected. Something else a lady sent in was what she said was a genetic match to Elvis's hair. Uncommented, the Presley estate rejected it. The problem arises, however, at this point. Riley Keough, Lisa Marie's daughter, became the sole owner of Graceland upon her death in 2023. Disputes in the legal realm surfaced almost immediately. A 2016 trust revision designated Riley as the only successor, but Priscilla Presley, Elvis's ex-wife and Lisa Marie's mother, contested its validity. Although the case was resolved outside of court, it provided insight into the contentious nature of the bequest. Riley may have legally inherited Graceland, but she also inherited a besieged fortress. The Presley estate is more than simply a place of sentiment. This is a battlefield for the law. Intellectual property, royalties, and the use of Elvis's name and likeness are all part of it. Plus, those who say they are his biological child aren't merely trying to gain official recognition for their family. Entering a multi-million-dollar empire is what they're doing. For that reason, everything is on the line. For the same reason as Lisa Marie did before her, Riley has never made any public statements about the purported secret heirs. One possible legal tactic is this. Emotional weariness could be the culprit. Perhaps, however, she is privy to information that the general population is unaware of. However, the rumors continue. While Elvis was married to Priscilla, rumors circulated that he had a number of affairs in the 1950s and 1960s. Women who supposedly got confidential communications, including letters, phone calls, and hush money. Upon closer examination, the majority of these claims fall flat. It says a lot, though, that people still ask about them and that they keep popping up. For the simple reason that Elvis was more than a man. He was a phenomenon. People will never cease looking into a person's background when they become famous. Riley, however, is now the one with the actual authority. It will not be a DNA test or a tabloid that proves there is an underground heir. Riley Keough will be the one. The true essence of the music was a fusion of country, gospel, and rhythm and blues. All of that had an impact on me when I was a kid. Even after all the tours have ended and the visitors have left their floral offerings at the meditation garden, one question resounds throughout Graceland. Was there music that Elvis left behind that has never been heard? You can't call it a rumor. Because of this one fact, the hypothesis has remained relevant throughout the years. Despite his deteriorating health, Elvis never ceased recording. he persisted in singing even as his environment shrank and became darker. Upstairs at Graceland, not in major studios or on television stages. Just 1 year before he passed away in 1976, Elvis recorded multiple hauntingly unpolished tunes in the Jungle Room in February and October. These sessions gave birth to songs such as Moody Blue and Way Down. Although not all of them, RCA did release several after their deaths. Sessions musicians and Elvis's producer, Felton Jarvis, claimed that several recordings were either never transmitted to RCA, were scrapped, or were left incomplete. The late Elvis Presley would frequently record his own basic piano sessions and vocal takes late at night, according to Jarvis. As he put it, there are recordings that the label was completely unaware of. To what end, then? Some think the solution is up in the clouds, confined to the rooms that Riley Keough currently has control over. Rumor has it that Elvis's upstairs study had a reel-to-reel tape recorder and a stack of unlabeled tapes, according to one anonymous former employee who posted in a fan forum years ago. The hypothesis is consistent with what is known about Elvis's private habits, but no official statement has ever confirmed the assertion. He would often listen to his own vocals over and over again, repeating the recording process until the tone is perfect. Riley may have kept mum about her grandfather's catalog since she assumed control, but she has spoken out on one matter. The archives do not contain all of Graceland's items. Uncatalogued or undigitized materials still exist, including letters, documents, and, yes, even tapes. Currently, her group is scanning unlabeled audio reels and handwritten lyrics as part of their digital preservation efforts. While Riley's new role as legal guardian of Elvis's business and sole heir to Graceland may sound like a windfall, it's actually quite the opposite. No one can ever be adequately prepared for this type of duty. It wasn't a title for show, it was a weighty duty. Generative, profound, and hefty. Suddenly, she was the public face, spokesperson, and defender of the Presley clan. Into the future. She appears to have made a concerted effort to fulfill that duty. There will be no profit from Riley's grandfather's name. She is not in the business of selling dramatic biopics or reality shows. Indeed, she has turned down numerous proposals to sell off the private areas of Graceland. She said no when a streaming service requested to film a documentary series in the upper rooms that were walled off. According to her, some areas aren't suitable for holding stuff. Those are for final resolution. What Riley is doing, on the other hand, is really unusual. It's as if she's curating the truth. To digitize Elvis's handwritten songs, diaries, family photographs, and personal letters, she collaborates closely with preservation experts and archivists. Metadata is being added to everything, and it is being preserved safely for decades to come. For the sake of history, not publicity. To further establish Elvis as more than simply a cultural icon, but as a legitimate scholarly topic, she has also launched educational collaborations with museums and institutions. The ways in which he influenced American popular culture, music, and race. Despite all, she has held on to the sorrow of her family. She has been forthright about the Presley family's history of substance abuse and tragedy. She formerly referred to it as the Presley curse. However, she is confronting it head-on, being forthright and graceful instead of avoiding it. Riley is now considered a grandchild in her own right. She has taken on the role of a guardian angel for all people, demanding that Elvis be remembered as a man, and not merely a symbol or a show. A man who is spiritual, gifted, disturbed, and profoundly complicated. And she's accomplishing it by simply remaining silent. Riley has made it such that we don't have to visit the upper floors of Graceland, even though the world may never get a chance to do so. What they meant and his true identity are both crystal clear to us.